Okay guys, welcome back. So now you've seen the first warm-up session. Those of you who really thought about the whole hypnotic principles stuff we talked about earlier, the hypnotic context, the ABS formula and so on, you may have noticed that we focused specifically on one part of those principles. It's the A part of the formula, the attention getting. All the things you saw me doing with Danielle here were entirely about getting her attention to move in certain ways. Now, as it happens, because of that, we got the B and the S part of the formula as well. Her critical factor was being bypassed increasingly. We'll talk more about that in a later video, how that happened and why that happened. And we've got some unconscious material being stimulated, specifically changes in physical awareness, the comfort in the body, the warmth in the body, the heaviness in the body, and of course the memory that she's putting her attention into. So a bit of a kind of a hypnotic revivification, totally by accident. That's what her mind chose for us. Now, why is this important? First of all, notice how there's no way I can fail. I'm just asking her to notice experiences and report back on them afterwards. There is really no risk here, no failure possible. However, every single exercise, and there was an escalation of exercises, is designed to gather in attention, to collect attention at increasing levels. So what were the exercises? We did 4 different exercises here. There's no magic in these 4, by the way. You can make as many as you want up, but I'm giving you these 4 because they're simple to do, they're easy to remember, and really they're very natural things that you can stack up progressively. And the key here is the progression of attention. So the first thing we do is we have them close their eyes. Can you do hypnosis with eye closure? Of course you can. So why would we want to close our eyes? Well, the fact is that visual part of the information that we take in from the world takes about 60% of the processing power of the brain. When you close someone's eyes, a lot of things change. The first thing that changes, that visual processing has less input. So they're more likely to go down the imagination route, like we had here. Memories become more vivid, pictures become more vivid, and so on. And you have all this spare attention that is no longer looking like someone on Ritalin around the room going, what am I going to look at next? All that distracting attention has been taken away. Now, of course, the ears can still be distracting. The skin might still feel sensations that are distracting. So those are things we need to still take into account. However, our primary vision, the primary point at which we lose attention, has been taken care of. Those of you who know a little bit about neuroscience will also know that just by closing your eyes, you're automatically elevating the levels of alpha waves going on in the brain, which is a very mild shift in the direction of trance. Very mild, but also very useful. So just that one little act, close your eyes, tells us a lot about hypnosis and starts the process of opening the door to hypnosis up. Now, if someone closes their eyes and says, nope, nothing's happening, it feels just like normal, everything's... Now that tells me that they're doing something, their attention is unstable in other ways. They're not like your normal person whose attention is based on the senses. Is my senses being grabbed here? My senses being grabbed there? Their attention is probably being grabbed around the place by their thoughts. Now I have 2 choices with someone like that. I can end the experiment and say, thank you very much for helping with the experiment. No big deal. Or I can experiment further and notice, well, what is their attention on? What's grabbing their attention so incessantly that nothing that's happening seems to be changing anything? It may be the thoughts they're having. Chances are, by the way, very high that it is exactly that. It may be that they're being troubled by something else, and that's looping in the back of their mind. By asking them, saying, well, what is happening? What are you experiencing? Oh, nothing. We mean nothing. Are you thinking thoughts? What are you thinking about? What are you feeling? Where are your thoughts going? Where is your attention being drawn towards? These things will tell you about what's going on in there. They will also tell you how to hypnotize that person. So this is very useful. And all you've done so far is ask someone to close their eyes. It's simple and it's sneaky. So let's turn to the next exercise. Exercise number 1 was close your eyes. Exercise number 2 just builds on that one simple step. Close your eyes and focus your attention. Now notice, did I tell them where to focus their attention? How to focus their attention? No. I'm leaving that up to them because I'm curious to find out where are their natural attention points. I'm not going to force anything on them. Now, there are certain things that we can do with attention to grab it more easily and to manipulate it, move it in different directions, make it more hypnotic. Yes. But before I get to that, I want to be non-specific just to notice what happens. Now notice, there's just an extra little step to just closing your eyes. Also notice, when the client or the subject comes back and opens their eyes from that first experiment, you ask them, how did that go for you? What did you experience? What did you notice? You're doing this partly for yourself to learn as a hypnotist how minds are operating, but you're also doing it for them to acknowledge the fact that something is happening. You see, as soon as they acknowledge that something is happening, more of that is likely to happen again the next time. You are training them to keep responding in this way. So when they come back, so how did you feel? Oh, my body felt this way and my body did that. And I threw out a very casual question. So you started feeling more focused. Is that what you're saying? Yes, that's exactly what's happened. Now, of course, I know my next exercise is going to be about focus. So I've planted the idea already, just casually. See if they pick up on it. If they say, oh, no, I wasn't very focused, well, then I can just throw another question back and say, oh, right, because something's missing, isn't it? Yes. What would you need to do to gather all your attention to become very focused? Well, I would need to think about my holiday in France. Great. Close your eyes and focus on your holiday in France. They've just told you how to complete the next exercise successfully in terms of gathering more attention. So you can do it either way. You can get them to focus on the things that will work, or you can take a random experiment and focus on other things. I hope you're beginning to realize that just with those first two little exercises, you have a lot of scope. You can take this in many different directions, but they're all simple and they're all easy to do. Then we come back again and we debrief one more time. How did that go? Now here is a very important question. The first question is just generally, how did that go? Yes, I enjoyed it. It's very pleasant. And people tend to be very general about these sort of things. I now want to do something specific with their mind. I'm going to ask them to make a comparison. The reason for that comparison will become apparent in the next session when we bypass the critical factor. So what is the comparison I'm asking for? Well, how was that version compared to the first time? Oh, I had more of it. That's what I'm listening for. It was more intense, more relaxed, more comfortable, more focused. Whatever it is, guess what you've just done in terms of the hypnotic process? This is classically known as a deepening of trance. Here's your trance induction. Here's your deepening. Focus your attention. With those two simple instructions, when you understand this from the point of view of the principles involved, well, you just made life so much easier for yourself and more profound for your client. Now, just with these two little tools, you can have a wild amount of experiments. You can change your voice, speed up, slow down, be kinder, be more harsh, be more commanding, be more permissive. You can try all these different approaches and ask them, how does that work for you? Because all you're doing is two simple little thought experiments, and they allow you to just massage or play with the conditions a little bit to get a sense of what is your style going to be good at? What are you natural with? And how do they respond to you that way? That will build tremendous range, and we haven't even come to the meat of this whole exercise yet. The next sequence. So we had the closing of the eyes, we had the gathering of attention. Remember, we're still the A part of the ABS formula. Now I want to see if I can move their attention around. Typically, I will move it first to the breathing. Why? Because it's mechanical. People are very easy. It's very easy to focus on something that movement is related to. When you open and close your hand, you will naturally focus on it. When you inhale and exhale, you can easily focus on that versus focusing on some more subtle things that may not be as easy for people to keep track of. Also, as a rule, focusing on someone's breathing will help them calm down, become more focused, and more engrossed in their experience. Now guess what? Exactly what I predicted right at the start of this training series has just happened, and I'm delighted by it. It failed. I asked for focusing on the breathing, expecting that to increase the focus, but what did it do? No, it decreased the focus. In other words, it created a worse context for hypnosis to occur. Am I concerned about that failure? No, I am delighted by that failure because I now understand that my traditional path into hypnosis has a flaw in it. And I have to be careful about that if ever I want to go back to this idea of breathing. Doesn't mean I can't do it. It just means my setup has to be that much more eloquent before I can get there. As it happens, I cheated. How? Well, if the focus doesn't want to go to the breathing, where does it want to go to? So I want to augment the attention, augment the focus. Well, by contrast, if she knows this is making it worse, she must know what will make it better. So we just go back to that or experiment with other versions of this. Next comes the final step, the fourth step in this whole sequence. We've closed the eyes, we've gathered attention, we've moved attention to a focal point that is likely to increase that focus even further. In this case, we had to go through a couple of versions of it before we found that. Now, I want them to become very aware of their bodily sensations. I want them to become aware of specifically comfort and relaxation. Why those two particular feelings? Well, here's why. Number one, comfort and relaxations are wonderful trance themes. They are experiences that are very typical that people in trance will respond with or will have spontaneously, shall we say. It's also a very useful kind of glow to present to people within the hypnotic process. It's better for them to be comfortable and relaxed than stressed and agonized. You can do stress hypnosis if you want, but really, that's not a very fruitful way of doing it, and not very pleasant for the subject either. So, let's make it enjoyable for them. They can learn something. I mean, who doesn't want to be more relaxed, to be more comfortable in their lives? So they're learning something about themselves. Meanwhile, of course, you're getting them used to paying attention to their bodies so that when changes occur, they can report back to them for you. And once again, the induction is now serving several purposes. On the one side, you're learning about what does make them more comfortable and creating that as an environment. On the other side, you're getting them used to paying attention to themselves and noticing positive changes. Now, if a person says nothing feels comfortable, everything's terrible, and this really isn't working, well, it tells you that this is probably not the kind of person where you're doing instant inductions with and crazy hypnotic effects, at least not straight away, because the mind isn't even there yet. If they can't even find an area of comfort, what are the chances that they can have a full-blown hallucination? What are the chances that they can respond by locking out an arm and not bending it? Not as high. So it's another covert test and an information gathering tool for yourself as well. So there you have it, folks. We have 4 progressive experiments to continue to gather more and more of their attention. Closing of the eyes, gather your attention, focus on your breathing, feel an area of comfort or relaxation, and notice what happens, or watch it grow, or see if it will grow. Notice how the phrasing is a little bit different. Watch it grow is a little bit more of a risk. It may not happen. See if it does grow, there's no risk involved. Because either they notice it growing, in which case that you're a hero, or it doesn't grow, in which case you haven't failed because you never asked for it to grow. Either way, though, you're learning something about the person, you're learning a lot about the hypnotic process, and they are learning about themselves, which means this whole experience has been worthwhile to them. They come back out of this whole mini trance process, and then the debrief is going to be important. What did we do the debrief? How was that for you? How was that compared to the last exercise? Did you enjoy it? Are you learning something from this? Was this of value to you? Why am I asking these questions? Well, in part, I'm curious. I want to know how her mind responded to the various conditions we set up. In part, it's for her to realize this is valuable. This is fun. I am growing and learning about myself doing this because it adds more fuel to the fire of motivation. The chances that they will come back for a follow-up session, another session, and be your trance junkie volunteer for life is huge. And you want that. They learn something, they get something out of it, and you get to do the practice that you need to be doing as well. And all that for really a very simple set of procedures. And technically speaking, we haven't even started with the hypnotic elements. We've just focused on the A part of the ABS formula, attention. In the next set of videos, we're going to start looking at the B part of the formula and see if we can evolve the same concept, the same ideas, to yet another level again. Some of those B parts of the formulas have already been present in that last demonstration, in fact, in all the demonstrations I've done. They're kind of woven in the background. I will explicitly explain them to you and demonstrate them to you in different ways when we get to that section. it's very important for now that you should understand each step of the process as a separate item, not because they are separate, because it helps your mind understand the hypnotic context, comfort, relaxation, trust, and expectation. Then you have the attention grab, and you have 4 levels of attention that you can work through. Next video, we'll go right into dealing with the critical factor, that one pesky little part of the mind that could make everything fall apart.